I give the CIA a total credit for sponsoring and initiating the entire consciousness movement, counterculture events of the 1960s.
Welcome back to another episode of Rise to Liberty podcast. Today I have a very special guest with me. Let's just dive straight into it. Do you kind of want to give an introduction to yourself, who you are, and what kind of led us to having a conversation today?
Well, I'm Dr. Juliette Engel. I'm a retired physician. I am also one of the first children that was sold into the MKULTRA program in the 1950s. I'm 77 years old. And to give the background of how I, as a 6-year-old child, wound up in the middle of the CIA's MKULTRA program, you have to go back to the pre-war Germany when you had the Nazis investing heavily in the Ahnenerbe, which was a branch of the party that went around the world collecting artifacts, myths, mythology. They would take entire temples, like they went to Pergamon, which is in the book of Revelations, and they took the entire temple of Jupiter and they took it apart and they transported it to Berlin, which is where it is to this day. It's in the island of museums in the Berlin River. So they were doing this. They were looking for energetic properties. They had a breeding program. They were finding suitable women from cultures all around the world to breed to the most aggressive Nazi men and produce this, not just the super race. They were looking for different kinds of characteristics. They wanted to breed super psychic soldiers. They wanted to breed super cruel soldiers. And I think we're seeing this manifest in our world today, the descendants of these programs, because they lived. And right. So when you get to the war period, the concentration camps were an open, unrestricted, unregulated, lawless laboratory for every nut job that wanted to conduct experimentation on human beings. And they had access to every racial group, every population, all the characteristics. They could go out and find them. So it was a massive, massive criminal enterprise. So at the end of the war, when the scientists were rounded up and the rooms full of research were collected together, the CIA, well, it wasn't the CIA at that time, it was the OSS, sent a team to Nuremberg, which included 5 of my own uncles who were very big in the formation of all these intelligence agencies. They were in Berlin. They were fluent German speakers. They'd been undercover during the war, all kinds of interesting things. And clearly, I found out they were in contact with the Nazis before the war. So anyway, there's long relationships that went on that makes sense, when you see what they did.
Right.
So in Nuremberg, they gathered 1,500 of these scientists together who had committed massive, unspeakable, evil war crimes and we think that we executed them. I mean, as right. The American population thinks, they were punished. No, they were not punished. They were in fact rewarded. The group our delegation decided that there would never be an opportunity in the world to commit crimes on this level again, with international law and scrutiny of the right. media. It would never happen again. So they couldn't miss this opportunity to take all this evil garbage and force it into the American population, who had no idea about any of this. So they brought them to Huntsville, Alabama. They then they had to distribute them around the country. And I'm quite sure that what they did, because this is the way the State Department works, it's very much an insider's club. It still is. You're from the LDS church, so you know how that works.
Right.
So they picked their best friends who were running cults, any secret society or cult. That would be Masons, Rosicrucians, Shriners, LDS, the whole,
Right.
everyone that had a structured secret society and a means to support a German scientist got one. And then the CIA funded the programs that they started, because they had to take the scientist, they had to take his family, they had to integrate them into the community, sign them up at the country club,
Right.
So make them all shiny and special. So this
turn them into Americans
and upper crust Americans. So not just they didn't go to work in a coal mine. They
Right.
they joined the country club and they became part of the secret society structure, which is what we're suffering from now. So they went all over the country, and at that time there were hundreds of small secret societies. Now there are thousands. So anyway, so they were distributed around the country. In 1947, the CIA was created as an official entity. I mean, it's that young. It's that new. And so 3 of my uncles were in the CIA. Several of my family members were at Arlington Hall, which is part of the CIA, and that became the National Security Council, the NSA. So that was in 1952. In 1953, they officially created the illegal program. And if you doubt any of this, Jacob has included the links to the 2 dumps of CIA files, which are now contained in the National Security Archives. And there's about 2,400 documents that prove all this. It's not secret anymore. It's all unredacted, out in the open. And they hired a man named Sidney Gottlieb, who was very big in the head of technical services for the CIA. And they brought him in. He was known as the chief poisoner of the CIA. So his specialty was biological weapons and creating poisons that could be used on mass populations and LSD. And he had a very tight relationship with the Eli Lilly company in Switzerland, all in these documents. You can read about it. And that allowed him to import LSD into the United States illegally as part of this illegal official program with unlimited funding and no oversight that was being conducted all over the country. And by the ton, he brought it in by the ton. And
Right.
then they needed people in the program because their goal, from what I can see, they had several objectives. They wanted to create Superman. They needed a governing managerial class inside the United States. And so when I was a small child, I was sold into the program in 1955. I was 6 years old. And from the very beginning, they were teaching us that, okay, you are the goats. Everyone else in the world is the sheeps. The goats are going to live, the sheep are going to die. And you better be a good goat. So this is explaining it to a small child.
Right.
Who we are. I never understood that because we were treated horribly. I mean, the torture, the deprivation, the sexual abuse, all of that. But the difference is the child on the left of me, the child on the right of me would be killed, and I wouldn't. And that made me a goat instead of a sheep. And so you're seeing a class of people who have survived that programming by being agreeable, by at every step. I could have stopped the torture, and I could have gotten they called it the the golden ring. I could have gotten the gold, the prizes, the scholarships, the fame, the fortune, but I had to give up my soul. And people, religious authorities have tried to debate, well, what do they mean by this? Well, I don't know. This is what they told me
Right.
as a small child, that during the torture process, I could release my soul in a flash of green light, and they would take it. And forever after, I was theirs, and anything I wanted was mine. And but that would mean wanting fame, fortune, mega church, big fireworks, all that kind of stuff, which I didn't. So I grew up in that environment. Half the time I was with my family so that I could look normal and be in grade school and look like an American, which I was. And the trouble with that is that I would come back from, and the other half of the time I was in these annexes. In the documents, they call them the CIA safe houses. And this is where they did the torturing, the programming, the blood extraction, the sacrifices, all the things that I describe in my book, Sparky, Surviving Sex Magic, which will be in the show notes, and Jacob has a graphic for it. And I don't give enough information to actually, those are my 3 books. Sparky is my book about this life from when I was a child and what it was like to be sold into the program and then used for these experiments. And that takes me up through my escape at the age of 17, when I went on to put myself through college, and I escaped. And I realized in retrospect, I couldn't possibly have escaped their awareness, because I went from California to Washington State and proceeded to have a completely different life. But I did that by it was a mental cut. I cut them out. And so we can get in that a little farther on. But so I was going back between my family and the safe houses and school. And the schools would pick up when I'd come back to school, and I'd be all beaten up, and I'd have big black rings around my eyes. And then the social work department would step in, because they did that then. And all my parents had to do was pick up and move to a different school district. And it was that simple back then. And now they I don't know. I had the teachers on my side. I mean, they tried to defend me against my parents and against the system. And eventually they did help me escape by altering my high school transcript, which I don't even know who did it, but someone did it. And it allowed me to get into the University of Washington a year early. So I was getting help then. I don't know how I would have survived without it. But would you like me to go? What would you like me to cover at this point?
So I kind of want to jump back a little bit. You had mentioned that this was part of your family, that you were raised in this. And so was your family back then, your uncles particularly, focused on the bloodlines? Were they, I guess, for lack of a better term, obsessed with the lineage? And why do you think that is?
Well, it goes way back, and I didn't know any of this until I did the whole ancestry thing and was actually able to contact some of my cousins who didn't know it either, but were in the program.
Right.
We were treated as completely disposable objects, and so no one ever informed me of anything. I knew nothing except little bits here and there that I would remember, and an old book my grandmother had that she told me had to do with our family. So that was the McGregor, that was the Sparky McGregor that I fixated on. Um, so, but it goes way back. And when I did my ancestry, the incest is unbelievable. It's cousins marrying cousins. A brother sister will marry a brother sister, and then their kids will marry their kids, and it goes on and on and on, all the way back to I've traced it back to Saint Olga of Kiev. She's my 29th great grandmother. So these were, and that was the establishment of the royal lines of Europe.
Right.
All of them came through that, and they did not breed outside of their own little group. And they had a network which controlled, which in retrospect are the star forts all over Europe, into North Africa, Jerusalem. My family were the Crusades. I'm related to most of them. And so, yeah, they were. But how they regarded me, I was trash. I think I was told my whole life I was going to die young. By that, they meant I was going to die when I was 30.
Right.
And that's pretty much what happened to most of the bloodline kids that went into the program. All the 20 people in the 27 Club, the ones that achieved great fame and then they kill themselves. Well, that's wired into us. And I was supposed to do that. But I didn't. I found a way to save myself. And by connecting with a psychiatrist that I'd met in medical school that I really respected. And I went to him. All these things were coming up in my mind. And the program was running. And everyone, I've got to tell everyone that listens to this and starts realizing you've got missing years, you've got memories you can't get a hold of.
Right.
This starts coming to you. First thing that's going to come to you is an unaliving program because they want you dead. So you don't have to follow it.
Right.
You're seeing it though, like that actor Isaac Cappy, who revealed so much about Hollywood.
Right.
And everybody was so grateful. And then he jumped off a bridge.
Right.
Well, he ran right into his program, and no one was able to say, "Hey, it's okay. It's a program. You can defeat it. Don't listen to it." Yeah, and everyone will hit this. So you need to know that, and you need to know that you can get around it.
Right.
Kathy O'Brien recommends writing everything it's telling you, and you realize, oh my gosh, this is my father repeating, and he's been dead for 40 years, So you've got to see as soon as you see the magic trick, the magic's gone.
Right.
And the magic trick.
As soon as you question the cult leader, that's it. Yeah.
And you realize what the cult leader is. And that's where I want to get to today, because since I'm 77 years old, and I went into the program that was founded in 1953. I was in it in 1955. So I was in it with the German scientists. I was in it with the future horrific manifestations which came out of it before they were fully programmed. I was getting the same programming. So is it okay if I jump ahead to 1961? Yeah,
of course.
It seems like such a long time, 1955 to 1961, when you're a little kid.
Right.
It seems like, wow, that was forever. Well, actually, it was only like 6 years.
Right.
So one of the hardest parts for me to remember of all this was I couldn't remember 1961 to 1966. 1966, I escaped, went to the University of Washington, became a completely different person, went from art and music and all of that stuff to medicine. And from then on, everything in my life is very clear, documented. I remember all of it. I've written about most of it. But before that, from 1961 to 1966, I had to really work to even find out where I was. And I was in the San Francisco Bay Area. We lived in several different places. I went to 5 different schools, but it was all surrounding the Presidio. Right. And the Presidio is a star fort in the northwest corner of San Francisco, and it was the center of MKUltra for most of the West Coast. And can you bring up the slide? Bring up the slime one. Yes. So I'm sorry, it says toilet slime. This is a screen capture. I didn't realize that was on there. But you
I
see
do think it is perfect.
Well, it is.
It's toilet slime.
It's exactly how I feel about it. So that's Fort Point. So the Presidio lies in the northwest corner of San Francisco, and now it's a park. But it's a mass of tunnels. I'm sure all kinds of occult stuff goes on in the lower levels. And this was the northwest point of it, which is my arrow there, which extends out underneath the Golden Gate Bridge. And can you put up the Fort Point slide? Yeah, there it is. So there it is. This is most predominantly an ancient structure. You can see how big it is. It was part of the Star Fort that was there before anybody arrived in San Francisco to document it. And you can see that the peninsula that it sticks out on is a point, and that's the point of the Star Fort.
Right.
And it's the only place they could drill the pylons for the Golden Gate Bridge, because the rest of it was just slush and muck and ocean bottom. But the pillars, the main support structures, right there, because it goes into unbelievably hard rock.
Right.
And I was predominantly at Fort Point. You can see those. Can you go to screenshot the one that shows the courtyard 2026? Yes. That's how it looks from the inside, and those huge. You can see how the size of the people there compared to what they call the gun bays. Now the gun bays don't make any sense because they'd actually be pointing backwards. So yeah, it's the wrong way. And if you go out, you can see how large the stones are. That the construction is otherworldly, and they knew that, and that's the reason that we were there. On the other side, where you see construction and offices, and that's where we stayed. The dormitories were there, and that's also was the headquarters of the Psychological War Department of the U.S. Army. Now,
what years were you here?
1961 to 1966.
That's quite a long time considering what was happening.
Well, it was. I was going back and forth between there and Stanford Research Institute and my high schools. I went to 2 different high schools.
Right.
And for 2, I mean, that only represented 2 years. And what else? Also Coyote Hills. It was a facility of Stanford Research Institute out on the Bay Flats doing animal experiments. So I can't tell you exactly how much time I was there, but during those years, I was there several times participating in experiments. And it's I'm tempted to go back there, but I'm actually kind of concerned about going back there because until I'm thoroughly myself freed from the magic trick, as a child, and when it's beaten into you and terrorized into you, the magic trick remains something.
Right.
When actually it's just torture, it's just violence, it's just cruelty. And the experimentation that they were doing specifically, I was working on, they were inventing New Age music.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it came right out of here. And it was music as mind control. They were looking for the correct frequencies. Music should be recorded at 432, which is harmonious and healing, and they wanted an irritating, disrupting frequency. So they were testing different frequencies and decided on 440. Um, and I should say my family invented the music business. So that goes way back in my bloodline. My great grandfather, who was the Knights commander of the Knights Templar for North America, he invented the means to record music in it as on reproducible, to make reproducible recordings. And there's films about this. There's it's well documented. He founded the U.S. Music Company in Hollywood, and that then became the basis of all the record companies and Arthur's Music.
Right.
Arthur was my great uncle,
and so a lot of what they were doing at this point would have led to what came out of Laurel Canyon, correct?
Oh, yeah. We were down in Laurel Canyon too. I'm sorry, I still block things out. Yeah.
No, you're totally fine.
No, we would be driven down to the canyons. Laurel Canyon was one of many. There was Laurel Canyon, Topanga Canyon, Tabruca Canyon, El Toro Canyon. And the person that drove us down there was Charles Manson. And Charles Manson was about 12 years older than me. So he was like an older guy. Can you put his picture up? Because this is what he looked like when I knew him. Yeah, that's what he looked like as a
very, very different than how most people know him.
Yes, and he was like very intelligent. He was a good musician, and he was the dog's body. Basically, he was the guy that set everything up, that worked with the frequencies, was good at electronics, and he's in most of the background demos that you hear of the music groups that played in Laurel Canyon, and then and also at Murphy Hot Springs in Monterey, which is another site where I would be taken, and we would be the party favors, getting all the record execs drunk, naked, and on the ground, and photographed so they could be blackmailed into hiring these awful groups. And then they'd be shocked to find out these musicians really couldn't play the music. It was people like Charles Manson who was playing the music. And
that's one thing I find very interesting about the whole Charles Manson story is largely people, especially even now, say that they didn't know him. They try to pretend like he wasn't known, but everyone knew him. He was a very popular person.
He was everywhere, doing everything. He was integral to all of it. Obviously a bloodline. Obviously, he did like the drugs, and whereas I hated him and wouldn't take them unless they forced me, he would take them. He liked it, so he had that vulnerability. But other than that, he was just basically a hardworking guy. He was married, although I don't think I don't remember. I have an absolute. I had a prohibition about getting close to anyone in the program because I would get close to them and they would die. And it was I just, when I was there, I was doing what I had to do to stay alive and then getting out. But so he was there. And the other person about his age was Tony Levy, who changed himself into Anton LaVey. Can you put the screenshot of LaVey and Crowley and Aquino? So that's Aleister Crowley in the middle. He's the one that created the sex magic program, and he was a master wizard and all this baloney.
Yeah, we've talked about him on my channel quite a bit, especially now as we're working our way through the West Memphis 3 case. He seems to be a central figure in many, many cases, and he pops up all the time in MKUltra research.
Yeah, and he was dead by then. He was not there.
Right.
But his avid student the guy with the horns there, Tony Levy, who became Anton LaVey, was his acolyte, and
Right.
he was the one who was terrorizing Aquino, who's the third one there. Michael Aquino was my age, so I think a year and a half older, but he's, girls mature faster than boys, and
Right.
he was less mature than me, and terrorized by Anton LaVey. And so Anton LaVey was a monster. There were monsters above him. Some of them are still alive, I got to tell you.
Right.
And then LaVey was terrorizing Aquino, and Aquino broke. Oh, there's Charles Manson. That must be his.
On his wedding day.
Yeah.
What a clean cut gentleman.
Yes. And I have to say, all the time I was there, I was never afraid of him. I was terrified of the other ones. He never.
Right. And just for those who might not understand, so you were in the program with all of these well-known, or I guess now well-known people at the time. Mm-hmm. So before they were the monsters that they would become.
Yes. And that's because it was so long ago. I mean, it was the late 50s and early 60s to mid 60s. Right. And then when they appear, like when Michael Aquino appears with Kathy O'Brien's 7 years younger than me.
Right.
When she's 13, he abuses her horribly, just absolutely horribly. And so I was on one end of that, and she was on the other end of that. And he became exactly what Crowley and LaVey wanted him to be. And whatever was above them.
That's very interesting that they knew each other back then. As I guess the official story is that Michael Aquino didn't meet Anton LaVey until this story is so interesting to me, but met him after a viewing of Rosemary's Baby in San Francisco.
When would that be?
Let's see. I'm not sure when Rosemary's Baby was in theaters. Let's see.
Oh, because then you've got Roman Polanski.
Right.
Yeah, he was there also.
Let's see. Rosemary's Baby was in theaters in 1968.
Well, I can tell you that they were all there in 1961, 1962, 1963, but they were in the program.
Right.
So they were victims.
Right.
They became perpetrators later. And I was gone in 1966. No, they were all there. They all knew each other. And worse than that, the Nazis, this little club and all these little private secret society branches all over the country, which were just being terrorized now by our all knew each other.
Right.
And they knew the Nazis. And when, and the other thing that happened during the Nuremberg trials is while the CIA, my uncles were in Germany, they recruited Reinhard Gehlen. Reinhard, yeah, Gehlen was the head of Hitler's Secret Service.
Right.
So the CIA recruited him to be the head of their Secret Service. So he came to the United States. I did meet him, and then all of his agents became the CIA's network in Germany.
Right.
So all these connections are tight, are old, and I should tell you, Michael Aquino is my cousin.
Right. You were mentioning that before we started the show. So for those watching, what was he like in person when you knew him?
Scared. Absolutely scared. I was like the bold one. Like I was always trying to be out in front of everything, and he was just terrified. And
Interesting.
yeah, I would say that he was scared all the time. Anton LaVey was just a beast, and he terrorized the younger people like me and like Michael Aquino. We called Michael Aquino Kino. I guess then they changed it to Aquino.
Right.
But none of us.
I've heard a lot of people use that pronunciation and was never quite sure where that came from.
Well, Kino is what he was called in the program, and he didn't like it because it's Mexican.
Right.
And so he wanted to be Spanish, which he is, by the way. He's from the Royal Scottish line and the Royal Spanish line. And but he just hated being called Kino, so they called him Kino. I don't remember what they called me, and I have got a real block against it, so I may never remember.
Right. And so Anton LaVey, he was always just a monster.
Yeah, I didn't know him when he was younger. He was 12 years older than us. I think about 12 years, 12 years older. Like Charles Manson was older,
right.
10 years older. So they were in another generation of this iteration of this nightmare rolling forward. So what they had been like in their teens, I didn't know them, but I did know Michael. I did know Kino.
Right.
And others who went on to mostly my side of things was performing arts. I was a musical protege, and I was preparing to go on a tour to Japan, actually, and I ran away from that, and completely cut music out of my life, and then had to find something else to do. Went on to medicine.
Was there a reason why they chose music for you, or was it something you just naturally had an ability for? I
was a very talented musician, and I also had an ability. All of us had psychic abilities, and that's why we were there at Fort Point in that place, because Fort Point points to the junction of the Pacific Ocean and San Francisco Bay. And when the tides change, this phenomenon they call the slice occurs, where the ionic release and the ozone and the energy, and I mean, it's like space-time opens at that split second when the tide turns, and you can jump slice, so you can time travel.
Interesting.
That's the that was the explanation. What I didn't understand, so we would do that.
Right.
And the objective was to time travel and bring back lore and objects and stories, and if you could, a being from other dimensions and other times, that then was incorporated into the writing of the Satanic Bible, which we did write backwards on skins.
Right.
And so that's why I know and we were so high on drugs. They were testing all the different kinds of drugs that could make us jump higher, be out of our bodies longer, and people were dying I'm sure they were dying of the drug overdoses, but they would say they went out too far, they got lost.
Right.
But they were dosing people with everything. I mean, and I had, as a teenager, I had no control over anything they did. I put on my best performance because I just wanted to get out of there alive. And so I made a lot of stuff up and wrote it down. And so the Satanic Bible came right out of there. Someone's got the original with that's composed of skins. I'm sure it's in some temple of Set somewhere. And that's where the Temple of Set was created. And
interesting.
Set is an inside joke And for the life of me, I can't remember the joke. It's everybody thinks it's an Egyptian god. It's not. SET is an acronym. It's for something.
Right.
I can't remember what it is. It's something like something equipment technology. It has to do with transhumanism
Interesting.
and the incorporation of computers in human bodies. That's what it's about. And they had the underside of the Presidio. There's huge caverns in there. So they have replications of Bohemian Grove, or they did, and you could get there from Fort Point and go into tunnels right into the mountain, which the Presidio sits on top of, and so it's a massive tunnels, and now it's a museum, and you can actually take a tour into the upper levels of the tunnels. I assure you, they don't let you into where they're still active.
Right. I bet.
But the entrance to the tour is the Disney Museum.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Isn't that something? I think
if that's not a little tongue in cheek.
All of it's an in-your-face insult. And the Temple of Set is an in-your-face insult. And the Satanic Bible is an in-your-face insult written by a bunch of drugged up hippies. It's yeah. It's amazing I lived through that, but I did.
Yeah, it is amazing. And I think I speak for everyone watching this, whether they're watching it live or watching the replay, that we're definitely glad that you're still here, because so many people didn't make it.
Most.
Right.
I think it's very rare. All of the sheep died. I guarantee you, everyone that was classified as a sheep and not a bloodline that was any part of this is dead. And if you were in the program as a goat, you either became the managerial class, which I believe right now is the senior executive service, which is the deep state, which is running our country, or you got to 30, took your last hurrah, and unalived yourself. So most of them, I don't know what the numbers are, but in 1976, when the Church Commission did review the MKUltra program, they confirmed that there were programs running in 1976 in 80 institutions across the U.S. That would be hospitals, religious centers, LDS certainly, universities, colleges, all across the country. And they said they had documented 150 programs in these 80 institutions. And then when questioned, Richard Helms says, well, we don't really know how many programs are running, because we just give them money. We don't oversee them. We don't get results. We don't monitor, which is all a lie.
Yeah, I was about to say that seems like a load of bull to me, because what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. We're seeing the results. We're seeing the people that did survive, and to survive and be part of the senior executive service, you've got to agree to everything,
Right.
You got to kiss the ass and take the payment.
Right.
Which takes us to Christianity, by the way, and why they hate Christianity so much, to the point where I was never allowed to even go into a church. I couldn't mention it without severe corporal punishment. And I was so programmed that I still can't read a Bible. It goes backwards.
Right.
But I can listen to it. So I've listened to it. And right in the middle of John, where Jesus says, he's speaking to the sheep. That's what they can't stand.
Right.
He's not talking to the goats, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the lawmakers. he's talking to the sheep, and he says, God loves you, and you are made in God's image, and you can be a good sheep, good shepherd to the other sheep.
Right.
And you should be a good shepherd and do it from love for your fellow sheep, and not be the hired hand who does it for money.
Right.
So you take it right back to MKUltra. My choice was, do I take the money? Big payout. I mean, I'd be Secretary of State by now, probably. Or do I do what I do for love, and I'll get nothing? And I went for the love and wound up living in Russia for 20 years and organizing the Angel Coalition, which is another story, an underground railroad that rescued thousands of trafficking victims.
Right.
And I did that for
well,
love.
we'll have to
didn't
get
do that
back
for
and
money.
talk about that, because that seems like a fascinating story for definitely another day. But man, that good for you. So just to be clear, is that exactly why they hated Christianity so much? Is because
Yes.
they were speaking to the sheep?
They hate the sheep.
Right.
Hate the sheep. They hate the goats too. The goats, any goat that's stupid enough to think that, okay, I've done all these things for the great leaders, they're going to get wiped out too, because they get to be annoying and competitive. And now you have, I think what you have, this is my theory. So you've given all the support and all these secret procedures to all these cults around America, hundreds of them.
Right.
So they're not coordinating anymore. No one's overseeing them. And so there's competition going on. So you've got all kinds of businesses and things running on the dark web, and human trafficking is being run by these people, certainly, but not all by the same ones.
Right.
So
it kind of seems like competing cartels.
Yes, competing secret cartels. The secret cartels we're not supposed to see, but are like right in our faces, because they're affecting the quality of our food. They're going to charge us for air. They're going to dump crap from airplanes, and nobody knows what anyone else is doing. If they were really coordinated, they could have killed us all. They tried with the COVID vaccine, and that was talked about way back in the 1950s in my classes. We learned about how 90% of the sheep were going to die. And we learned about, they're very racist. They really didn't like the Black population. And we were taught that there would be no Black people in America by 1982.
Wow.
And that was so specific.
Right.
And I wrote a social studies report and said that, and that led to scandal at school. like
I bet.
Called my parents in, who had no idea I didn't know where I'd gotten it either, but I felt quite confident that there was going to be an attack on the Black race, and there was. I mean, you look at the what's it called, the Tuskegee experiment, where they were
the
spreading
syphilis experiment,
and then the HIV experimentation among the Black population of Baltimore, where no treatment was offered. And on and on and on. And then Haiti, that was also in the 1980s. So they were manifesting. They just...
Not to mention the crack cocaine epidemic, where they wanted to destroy the Black population. Yeah.
Yes, and pulling Black fathers out of families. They wanted to destroy Black families. So they did a lot of damage. And they had predicted it. And they predicted the pandemics, although they were really trying to hit us a lot harder. Human beings were harder to kill than they thought, and sheep weren't as stupid as they thought.
Right.
The sheep are a lot smarter.
That's what I've been saying, is that, I believe that they thought that they were a lot further along in the programming, that not so many people would wake up to what was going on. And it kind of backfired, because a lot more people are awake now than I think ever before.
Yeah, and you've got the situation where you've got 3 generations now. This from 1953 to now is 3
Right.
generations. So you've got all these people like the younger people in my family who grew up believing all this stuff and still repeating how stupid the sheep are. And
Right.
and and it's not true. You know,
Right.
it's all false. So
Right.
what a time, eh?
Yeah. So it's really interesting you bring up this aspect of hating the sheep, because that's one of the core tenets of Satanism.
Mhm.
Is the
Yeah.
social Darwinism. I must step upon other people in order to be successful. And it's, in my opinion, one of the reasons why it makes LaVey one of the most dangerous Satanists. The Satanists themselves will argue, "Oh, he's not a real Satanist." It's like, no, he is, though. He became a household name. Tons and tons of teenagers, especially through the 70s and 80s into the 90s, were picking up the Satanic Bible and
God.
taking it as law.
Yeah. Awful.
Yeah.
And I feel that I had any part in that is I was just unbearable. But
Well, I think things like this helps make up for that, though.
well, people need to know the truth about it, and
Right.
how would you know unless you knew these people in the 1960s before, when they were
Right.
just sheep. They were goats, bloodline goats, but they were
Right.
at the same educational and talent level. And
Right. I did have a question from one of the people watching. Do you believe Dr. Mengele to still be alive? They had pointed out that a handful of survivors have claimed that he's currently living in either Washington, D.C. or New York. They wanted to know if that was something that you believed.
He'd be awfully old.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he was 20. He was in his 20s in the 1930s. So he'd be well over 100 years old. I knew him when he was part of the
Right.
MKULTRA doctors, certainly.
Right.
And they were all called Dr. Green, and he started that.
Oh, interesting. So they all went by Dr. Green.
Yeah, every annex would have a German doctor named Dr. Green.
Right.
Sort of the head guy. And he would have a very brutal, aggressive assistant named Dr. White. And that was true of Mengele. His top guy
Right.
was Weiss. And then we were taken care of by what they called nanny blacks, who were, you didn't know what they were, men or women dressed in black, like nuns.
Right.
And if you want to see all that, watch the 2012 opening ceremonies of the London Olympics. And
yes.
And you have to get the European version, because the American version was censored, heavily censored.
Right.
But there it is. All of it.
Right.
It's got the Dr. Greens, the Dr. Whites, the nanny blacks, the strange visitations that terrorize children. You've got kids in beds with bars. Then you have a child sacrifice at the end.
Right.
It's absolutely horrifying.
Right.
It's just
and the
horrifying.
fact they put that on display for everyone to watch as if this was some fun opening ceremony.
Yeah, what does that have to do with sports?
Right. Right. It's just like the opening ceremony to the CERN portal. These are all satanic rituals being performed live in front of everyone. You had mentioned that you had also met a lot of the well-known doctors, such as Dr. Sidney Gottlieb. And what was he like?
Well, I was a 6-year-old kid and he was an old man. So
Right.
I
Right.
just remember all these big old guys standing around prodding me with things, giving me shots. So there wasn't any kind of social interaction. He knew my mother. So I watched them interact. He knew my mother. Mengele knew my mother. On a kind of social, hey, how are you
Right.
basis. What the overall, and that it was her brother who was the founder of the National Security Agency. How all that fit together, I don't know, but these people knew each other, and they knew each other from before the war.
Interesting.
So they had known each other in the late 30s.
Right. One way I have always looked at a lot of these programs, and I wanted to get your opinion on this, was it seemed as though a lot of these people were already raising their children this way before the institution of MKUltra or Artichoke, Bluebird. But then when these programs came along, it was more of a way to scientifically dial in the way to be able to raise children and be able to cause the trauma in order to get a specific outcome. Does that sound correct?
So you're talking about parents doing this to their children?
Correct. It always seemed like with the bloodlines, they call themselves elite. I don't know if I would refer to them that way. But it always seemed like this is exactly how they would raise their children. It seems
and
like
they did?
This was right.
And they did, and it went way back.
This was taking it more public and making it more of a scientific endeavor instead of like an art.
The practice of living in star forts,
right.
The practice of adopting your child to another family to be raised. And I've got a couple of cousins who were raised by families who then did the ancestry and figured out they weren't their families and they were actually related to me. So we mapped that out. These are old practices, and the incest and the and I did want to get to the fact that every MKUltra program was connected to a star fort. And I've been working with survivors, and you can map it out. If they were in Greenland, they were in Tool, they were in that star fort. If they were in Northern Canada, they were in that star fort. If they were in Kathy was in Michigan, she was in Mackinac Island, big star fort, Montauk star fort, Presidio star fort.
Right.
And I think when we were time traveling, they actually had what they called the Montauk chair. And we were, well, I don't know if it was called that. It is now, but we were just strapped down to a chair so that our physical bodies couldn't go with our energetic bodies. We had to stay inside the star fort. So we were right on, when that was happening, I was right on the line of the slice where all the energy was coming at the change of the tide, travel out, but they would keep your body in one place. And I think it was because they wanted you to time travel into the history of that star fort, because they were
very interesting.
Yeah, I think they believe that they got there with the star forts, and these people desperately wanted to get off Earth. They still do, and they can't. They're stuck. So all NASA, what's NASA?
Right.
What is all of it is.
Well, and then the colonies on the moon, the colonies on Mars, it all seems very strange. I know you don't have a whole lot of time left before we've got to wrap up. And I guess the final question before we wrap up to get out of here. What is it that you want people to take away from this? What is it that you feel that most people misunderstand?
I think our conversation was very important because you were talking about how people believed in the Satanic Bible and like Satanism, and how I'm telling you, I was there when they invented it, and it's a joke, and SET is a joke. And when I figure out, or somebody in the comments tells me what it actually stands for, it's all created. It's a magic trick, and humans, the sheep, whom God dearly loves, have got to stop reacting to the magic trick and just see the truth, because they're out to kill the sheep. There's no doubt about that. And in their desperation, I don't know if they've realized they can't get off the planet. It's possible, but the destruction and the death isn't going to end. And the sheep have to stop believing in the hocus pocus and see them for what they are. And if you look at the pictures of Aquino when he was a kid, and Charles Manson when he was a nice-looking, very organized young man before he went all psycho, that's who you've got to get to. They need to get back to that. So that's the takeaway. Stop seeing the magic trick. Open the box and see the truth. The man behind the curtain.
Well, I would like to say thank you so much for coming on. I would definitely like to get you back, because I feel as though we've only scratched the surface on so many things. And I mean, there's just so much more to just your story that we could hone in on. But I do want to thank you so much for coming on, and thank you just for speaking out about this, because I've dedicated my life to this at a certain point, and I understand how important it is. And the fact that yourself and people like you are willing to speak out, I think means the world. And hopefully everyone watching this live or rewatching the replay understands the gravity of this. It's a big deal. And so I would just like to, on behalf of everyone, say thank you so much for doing this, and would definitely like to get you back. Make sure and go check out her books. I will make, is there any recommended area or outlet to buy the books?
Well, they are available on Amazon. They're also available. You can get them on my website, which is just put my name into Google, Juliette Engel.
Perfect. I'll make sure and link to your website. Try and bypass Amazon if we can.
That's great. Yes.
But on that, are there any final words that you would like to leave people with?
No, it's up to you younger people. I'm 77. I'm telling you what I know, and the world's coming into your hands. So I just hope it helps. It does. I know it helps. I know this.
Oh, it does.
It does. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
And for me, I have to tell it out there and not even know who I'm talking to. You never know.
Right.
Who's going to hear it. That's up to the Lord, not to me.
Amen to that. Well, once again, I would like to thank you for coming on. Thank you all so much for tuning in to another episode of Rise to Liberty. Make sure and go to my master link, allmylinks.com/rise to liberty. That pulls up everything, all my platforms, and the best ways to help the platform and the work that I'm doing. I completely depend upon you, the audience, to be able to help get stories like this out. We will definitely make sure and get Juliette back. I think this was an amazing conversation. I'm very much looking forward to more in the future. If you guys can do me a favor, make sure to hit the like, share, subscribe on the way out. That lets our big tech overlords know that you want this to be sent to more people, and it's one of the best ways to help the channel to be able to get this out to more people. And on that note, until next time, stay free, my friends. And hang out, Juliette, and we'll wrap up on the back end real quick.